You know, I feel very happy with where I'm at in my life because I'm able to get high naturally from doing what I'm doing, and I'm helping a lot of other people do the same as well. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to brag or something, but this is just the power of the path of sexual kung fu. What it's done for me, it will do for you as well. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. So I am out here in Oklahoma, just outside Lake Sardis, out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out here with some friends. We're actually working on a little project together. I'll be sharing more about that, but spending all of July traveling. Actually, after this, I'm heading to North Carolina to study with Michael Wynn at his summer retreat for a couple weeks. Then I'm heading down to Sedona, Arizona to teach a workshop down there, and I'll be hanging out there for a week. So busy month of July. It's great. I love traveling. I love being out in new places. So today I wanted to share a little bit about my journey with sexual kung fu, how I got into sexual kung fu, what this path was like for me, and just sharing my experience of going deep into this practice, which I've become so passionate about. So it really started for me back in 2013 when I read a book by Montauk Chia called Multi-Orgasmic Man. And this book introduced me to the world of sexual kung fu, introduced me to the concept that men can actually have non-ejaculatory orgasms, and that for men it's not ideal to ejaculate every time they have sex. In fact, it's very beneficial to retain semen for periods of time. And so this book completely blew my mind. I started using some of the exercises from it. I would stimulate myself, I would get into this very, very aroused state, close to the point of ejaculation, and I would stop and pull the sexual energy upwards through my body using the kind of crude technique that's taught in that book. And for a while I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if, I'm not really feeling this non-ejaculatory orgasm thing. But I did notice that when I did this, when I was doing this, sexual cultivation, at this point I was going about 4 days in between ejaculations, which for me was a big deal because I used to ejaculate every single day watching porn. And in this, circumstance, I was cultivating the sexual energy. I was arousing it, building it up, and then bringing it through my body and not ejaculating at the end of the session, at least, not every time, right? And I felt so different from doing this because my only sexual experiences up to that point had pretty much all ended in ejaculation, right? That's always how it ended up, but not ejaculating at the end and consciously at least trying to bring the energy throughout my body. It was a game changer for me. I remember going out, I used to play music. I went out into this kind of bar I was playing in after doing the sexual cultivation, not ejaculating, holding this aroused energy in my body. I just felt this confidence. I felt this magnetism, and it was like people seemed to just act a bit differently around me. Like I could just tell I was exuding this aura of magnetism. It was interesting, right? So that experience planted the seed for me, like, hey, there's something here. I definitely did not get close to mastering this practice from that book. The techniques in the book were very limited. There's a lot of limited explanation of everything, but again, it planted the seed. After that, I got a book called Taoist Secrets of Love, Cultivating Male Sexual Energy, also by Montauk Chia and Michael Wynn. And this book went a bit more in depth to a lot of the Taoist philosophy around semen retention and sexual cultivation, and gave me a bit of a better understanding about the whole thing, right? But still, the techniques were pretty limited, pretty crude. So at this point, I got very serious about semen retention. I'd kind of fallen back, into watching porn and things like that after reading Multi-Orgasmic Man, but I got really serious about it the summer of 2014 when I started practicing Qigong. I started really getting into meditation, Taoist practices. So I was 25 years old at this time in my life, right? And I'd been doing yoga, I've been doing meditation for a few years, but this to me was really the beginning of a serious practice of cultivating internal energy, of cultivating Qi, and really learning some tools to do that, right? And so reading Taoist Secrets of Love, I began practicing the technique of, it was called the big draw in the book, where you use these muscular kind of clenching to pull the sexual energy out of the genitals. And so as part of my daily routine, I would self-stimulate. I would masturbate, I would cultivate my aroused energy, but I would not ejaculate. I would get to a point of high arousal, and then I would do the big draw method to draw the sexual energy up and through my body. So I got pretty good at releasing my addiction to ejaculation. I got good at overcoming the desire to ejaculate because I was getting so high from arousing my sexual energy and then containing it within my body. But again, I still wasn't able to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, but I was getting a lot of benefit from pulling the sexual energy through my body. So I was starting to go, weeks or even a month or two without ejaculating at this time. My Qi was really starting to build, but there were still so many questions I had. My skill working with sexual energy was quite limited. All I was working with was, a couple books, right? It's just difficult to learn these things completely from books. Sexual cultivation is a very complex process. In early 2015, I went to Maui to live there for several months. I was working on an organic farm in exchange for a place to live. And I had been single for almost 2 years up to this point. I had gone through a rough breakup and was just really taking time time to cultivate myself, to try to clear some of the blockages that kept arising in my relationships, right? And one of the biggest changes I was noticing at this point in my life was all of a sudden women were attracted to me. In the past, I was really shy. I was, always interested in girls, being kind of the needy simp guy, like, oh, I'll do anything for you, right? I was that kind of guy. But that dynamic had changed at this point. When I started cultivating my energy, I felt so fulfilled from within that I didn't feel like I needed to chase women. I completely stopped doing that, right? And ironically, that's when women started chasing me. They started, trying to get with me, and I was becoming very selective about this, right? But in Maui, I had a point of weakness. There was this girl who was just, hey, I'm in my bed, you should come check out my room. And, eventually I was like, whatever, I want to try these sexual kung fu practices with a partner and see how it works, right? So I did. And so the first time I had sex using these sexual kung fu practices, like, okay, I've been practicing for almost a year at this point. Let's see how it goes with a partner. And it actually worked out pretty well for me, right? I was able to draw the sexual energy through my body as I was having sex. I never really felt like I needed to ejaculate. I felt very in control and relaxed, and it was a great first experience. But what I found was that with time, I was having difficulty controlling ejaculation. I was only having these, non-ejaculatory orgasms here and there. And so it was, still my practice was quite limited. And I ended up getting in a relationship with this girl, and of course we had a difficult breakup. She left me for another guy. So this pattern kind of reemerged in my life. And so this was early 2016. And this is when I made a decision to go study with Michael Wynn at his Healing Tao retreats he does every summer in North Carolina. And I was pretty broke in my life this time. I was working in a restaurant making like $9 an hour, but I had some money. I had to borrow a bit of money from my parents as well. Like, hey, I really, want to do this retreat. I feel like it's going to change my life. So I convinced my parents to, loan me some money to go do this retreat. And this retreat completely changed my life. Studying with Michael Wynn, studying Qigong, Taoist meditation, really learning how to open the microcosmic orbit. This was a transformational experience for me, because up until then I had only had like books and things to work with, right? But going and really studying this system in depth, it gave me the answers that I had been seeking, right? From what was left out in my practice. For example, understanding how important the foundations of internal energy practices are to having success with working with sexual energy. For example, you need a clear pathway in your body. You need a clear container if you're going to start holding this massive amount of sexual energy. And I just didn't have it before, right? So I learned how to ground my energy. I learned how to open the microcosmic orbit and to clear, most importantly, clear negative emotions, clear blockages in the body as they arise, right? And what I found was that by doing these practices every day, the sexual energy became actually really easy to work with, because you already have these pathways in place. You already have these certain flows of energy set up. So it becomes easy to guide the sexual energy with. Of course, I've been practicing for a while at this point too, but overall, this painted the big picture for me. And I also, at this retreat, got addicted to Qigong practice, learning proper technique with it, learning how to really connect with the internal energy and feel it. I loved Qigong. I went home from this retreat, I was a different person. I was transformed. I had so much more energy. I had completely released my addiction to porn, which was still, a bit of an issue for me at the time, right? And I had all this confidence, all this drive. I went home and I started to practice Qigong every day for, at least an hour and a half, sometimes 2 or 3 hours. Qigong, meditation, and my sexual kung fu practice. So at this time, I was still cooking in the kitchen. I had to work around, I think it was like 7 a.m. or something, right? So I had to get up pretty early. And I would get home from work, I would jump on my bike, ride down to the park, and I would do my Qigong for an hour and a half or 2 hours in the park. I would do my Qigong, do my microcosmic orbit, do my testicle breathing, do my sexual kung fu practices, and I loved it. It was amazing, right? So my practice was getting really solid. I ended up attracting a really amazing woman who became my partner, who I'm still with today, my partner Mariah, who's an absolute goddess. And she started to get into these practices as well, the female version of the practices, circulating her energy. And so we learned how to cultivate our sexual energy together. We learned how to exchange our sexual energy very consciously. And when you have a partner who's doing this work and you're doing it, it's phenomenal. We started to have such mind-blowing, powerful, heart-opening, full-body opening sexual experiences. I had these experiences with her of just like expanding beyond my body, connecting with the stars, the sun, the galaxy, these like cosmic orgasm experiences. It's difficult to put into words, right? So it was really phenomenal experience to be cultivating myself, because the bond that formed between us was so deep and so profound. I felt like every relationship I'd been up until then was just this superficial, neediness sort of based relationship where you're both just kind of like trying to take something from each other. But this was completely different for me. We were both so charged up from our practices that we overflow into each other, and just supported me in so many levels, right? And this is when my life started to really come together. I learned some business skills from Mariah, and I started to apply them to what I was already doing. I got my certification as a Healing Tao instructor in 2017, and that's when I started my YouTube channel, because on this retreat in 2017 I was at, it just really clicked for me how important this work is. The transformation I went through from being this, broke, porn addicted, just going nowhere in my life type of person. And from that, I turned into being incredibly confident, driven, focused, full of clarity. I developed so much discipline for my daily practice. You retain your semen, you practice sexual kung fu, non-ejaculatory sex, you build tremendous willpower, tremendous discipline. And I put that into everything else. And I put these business skills that I was studying into action with my sexual kung fu practice and started to teach this. I created my YouTube channel, started, sharing content, started creating courses. And after a year of creating my YouTube channel, I started to make full-time income from, offering courses, offering one-on-one work with people. And so I was creating this abundance in my life by sharing my passion. It's absolutely phenomenal, right? And so since then, I've continued to develop my practice. I'm studying with several teachers. I'm always learning new things. I'm always studying different systems, seeing what everyone's teaching. And at this point, the past couple of years, I've been kind of developing my own practices with sexual kung fu because there's really not that many people teaching this stuff. There's like Montauk Chia, Michael Wynn, one of my teachers, Lauren Johnson. There's a few people teaching this stuff, but overall most of the people are teaching the same things. And so my understandings, what I was learning about Qigong practices, working with energy, I was starting to develop my own approach to sexual cultivation, develop my own techniques for working with sexual energy. I discovered how to have phenomenal full body orgasms without ejaculating, certain techniques that really work well for doing that, right? Because in the beginning, all I had was that big draw, flex everything and force the energy up, which works. It works, right? But it's a bit crude. There's much better methods that are much more effortless and look less weird that will bring phenomenal results for circulating sexual energy through the body. And so now, I practice Qigong, meditation, sexual kung fu for about 3 hours a day. I've got a really solid practice and, I feel very happy with where I'm at in my life because I'm able to get high naturally from doing what I'm doing and I'm helping a lot of other people do the same as well. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to brag or something, but this is just the power of the path of sexual kung fu. What it's done for me, it will do for you as well if you commit to your training, commit to practicing, right? So thank you for watching this. I just wanted to share, a bit about my own path in these practices. And if you want to learn the same system I studied in and have since, kind of expanded upon and developed my own practices with, check out my course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, to learn how to channel sexual energy through your body, clear the blockages that are keeping you where you're at, and learn how to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, full body orgasms, and overcome premature ejaculation. So I'll put more information to that in the description of this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. Have a great day, my friends.